Team 12, please post.
Hold on. Forward. One. Forward. Halt. What are they going? Place, color. Please, man. Arm. Shoulder, arm. Assembly, march.
Rifle be bow, face.
Forward, march.
Nate Trosper, 079 Sergeant of Arms. Please place the POWMA flag on the POW empty chair. A POW empty chair is placed in all official meetings of the American Legion as a physical symbol of the thousands of American POW still unaccounted for from all wars and conflicts involving the United States of America. This is a reminder for all of us to spare no effort to secure and release any American prisoner from captivity, the repatriation of all remains of those who died bravely in defense of liberty, and a full accounting of those missing. Let us rededicate ourselves for this vital endeavor. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow our heads. Our Heavenly Father, from the beginning of America, we have had people who have recognized God and God's purposes as a standing above the nation and the nation's interests. Our American history has no meaning apart from faith in God. The light cannot be extinguished. It is in it. It cannot be cast out. In this faith, our laws have been established, our institutions created, and our liberties secured. We can see then that the Legion's idea of God and country is needed more today than ever before. We are aware of the extent to which moral and spiritual values have been marked down, and we know about little children, youth, and adults hurting in many areas. Almighty God, Father of all mankind and Judge over nations, bring all Americans closer to the Creator who has so bountifully blessed our country. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Marcus. And while we're still standing, all join for the reciting of the preamble of the American Legion. Rico. For God and country, we associate ourselves together for the following purposes: to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, to maintain law and order, to foster and perpetuate liberties and democracy, to preserve the memories and existence of our associated wars, to make against individual obligations to the community, state, and nation, to not act autocracy of classes and masses, to make private natural right, to promote peace and goodwill, to safeguard our prosperity, principles of justice, freedom, and democracy, to consecrate sacrifice of our childhood, We at Post 79 extend a hearty welcome to everyone in attendance tonight. We at Post 79 are very proud to be hosting the National Commander's Dinner and are very thankful that you could join us in a very honorable and rare occasion. I now call on Steve Wagner, Commander of the Fighting 21st District. Steve, could you please come to the podium and introduce the National Commander?
I'd like to introduce now Chris Raymond, SAL Commander for Squadron 79. He's going to be singing America the Beautiful.
Oh, beautiful, for spacious sky, forever waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crowns thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining seas. Oh, beautiful, for heroes prove, for liberating strife, who more than self their country love, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be noblest, and every gain divine. Oh, beautiful, for patriot dream that sees beyond the years. Thine albatross, her cities undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
I would like to proudly present American Legion National Commander Daniel M. Dellinger.
I'd just like to thank you all very much for hosting us this evening. And especially I'd like to thank the riders for escorting me in, for the flag detail that showed me into the room, into the hall. And thank you also, what a beautiful poster you all have here. And a little bit later on, I have some other remarks, but I just want to thank you very much for allowing me to be here this evening. It's an honor and a privilege to be with you all this evening. God bless you all. Thank you.
I'm here with our national commander, is our National Executive Committee alternate to the National Executive Committee, Robert C. Brown. Next to him is our distinguished adjutant of the Department of California, William Seiler, I. Next to him, a Department Vice Commander representing the 5th Area, 5 Southern California counties, 40,000 members. Are you listening, National Commander? That would be Lee Porcelino. Our District 21 Commander for Fighting District 21, Steve Wagner. As you all know, the primary mission of the American Legion at its founding in 1919 by World War I vets was to create a national organization that would help veterans, especially with their needs, their medical needs, pension needs for the increase they had suffered. We are lucky, very lucky to have a person as our department service officers who is outstanding in that effort. Steve McCree. I want to say that DSO McCree and his efforts, you may have seen in the Cal Legionnaire, the Scott McCree's big notice, $300,000 challenge. $300,000 challenge. Because we had to reach into our reserves last year to make sure that we could maintain our level of service. So the one thing I want to say to you tonight is, give money, lots of it. We have to get at least $300,000, stay even. And Scott McCree is doing a wonderful job for us. Thank you all.
I'm very proud to serve as commander of Post 79.
There you go.
Because of our awesome volunteers and Legion family membership, we've experienced many accomplishments in the past 20 months. We're proud that we are able to feed 12 to 15 Sherry Bettis Veteran Hospital veterans a full steak or half chicken dinner one Friday night a month. This is their big night out. We've been able to turn around a failing post because of our very unselfish and caring volunteers, our Legion family members, and our friends. We've had all new front windows installed, as you can see to my left here, thanks to our friends from the Old Farts Racing Team, many of which are Legion family members. We've also installed a new floor in our kitchen and recently refinished this floor here in our hall. Additionally, at Post 79, we've added a new American Legion Riders chapter to our family. The chapter has, with its efforts, been able to join up almost 20 members. There is a project that we are very proud of here at Post 79. A while back, we sent out a letter to our members asking for donations for the Honor Flight Project. This organization transports and accompanies World War II veterans to Washington, D.C. to see their war memorial. The response was overwhelming and unexpected, especially with the way our economy is today. Our members showed their true patriotic colors and their concern for our World War II veterans. I now call upon Ray Trosper, Sergeant of Arms, Post 79, to escort Herbert Williams, Honor Flight representative, to the front of the podium. I'd also like to request that the National Commander, Daniel Dellinger, to join Herbert, Marcos, and myself in presenting a check for $4,000 for the Honor Flight Project. There is an insert in the booklet in the short bio on the Honor Flight Project covering their mission to serve our World War II veterans. As I said earlier, we're very, very proud of this post that our membership stepped up to the plate. I now call upon Reese Lloyd, our own past District 21 Commander, co-founder of the Defense of the Veterans Memorial Project of the Department, co-coordinator with Terry Tracy of the Department's Patriot Outreach Pilot Project, attorney and general counsel for the FDMF Foundation. Please.
Thank you, comrades. I hope you all enjoyed this great dinner put on by the auxiliary. We thank the auxiliary for taking So it's my pleasure to speak to you, because as I have said to you, I always say, you are, in my view, you are the salt of the American earth. Because it was you who responded when our country called to our defense. And that service and sacrifice of yours, whether it was in combat or not in combat, you gave up part of your life to serve this country, and it should always be respected. And in regard to that, we have attempted in this post to do a number of things that would help our veterans in many, many different areas. And I was very pleased when I was asked by Commander Dino if I would MC part of the program. For the reason that, and I apologize to you all for this, that I misread the bulletin, the flyer that went out. When I read it, I thought it said it was going to be a roast of National Commander Delavan. Whoa! Have I been waiting for this? I mean, just imagine, you know, we get, it's like having you're on active duty, you're an enlisted guy, a bunch of enlisted guys say, hey, here comes the general, you got anything to say? Well, yeah, I might have a word or two to say. So I did prepare, believing that this was going to be, I prepared a few remarks here that I could use as, it was in the nature of a roast, but I understand it's not, I might have said such things as that you do get the impression now and then that back in National there in Indianapolis, that all the Red Hats, when they look out at us here in the boonies, it's like a mushroom farmer looking at the mushrooms and saying, well, if I just keep mowing the dog and throw a little crap on them now and then, they'll all grow and they'll all thrive. But I'm not going to say anything about that because it's not a roast. Instead, I want to keep my remarks very, very positive. I did make some notes on all the great things I do think that the National Office is doing for us. And I found, here they are. All the great things that has transpired this year. Oh, what they did not raise our dues. There's been no report of any European riverboat cruises on that year this year. And that they are going to be in solid support of the fight that started in this very post. And they have solidly supported. And that is the fight at Mount Soledad to save the cross there that honors our veterans. And I do want to say very seriously, the truth is, this really is teamwork. It's between the blue caps on the one hand who pay the dues and the red caps on the other who spend them. Teamwork. I was sitting smiling, you know, and I see these other guys, these guys from my department sitting there all kind of looking nice, but then I say, oh God, what's Reese Lloyd going to say now to get us in trouble back in there? Well, what I am going to say is this, that we're very anxious to hear from the commanders. The theme is to building tomorrow today. And we have talked a great deal in the American Legion about the need for revitalization. And we in this post, in our fight in District 21, want to be part of that. And we have, through the years, attempted to be creative and innovative, to contribute to that growth. We remember here that this organization began by four men in World War I, who had the idea of a national organization. And then those four men were, at that time, Colonel Theodore Roosevelt Jr. Went on to become a general and received the Medal of Honor in World War II, one of the founders. Eric Fisher Woods, a young person working in the embassy in France and ours. When the war broke out, became captain, also went forward in World War II as well as World War I. George White, he was the editor at the Portland Oregonian. And the last was Bill Donovan, William Donovan, Wild Bill Donovan, Medal of Honor recipient in World War I, and created the OSS, became the CIA in World War II. Just those four men. They created the largest, and in my view, the greatest wartime veterans organization in the world that now has 2.4 million members and over 13,000 posts. If they could do it with 4, why can't we do it with 100,000 members in California? And I suggest to you that we can. If we could win, just as we defeated the ACLU in their attempts to destroy the cross at the Mojave Desert Veterans Memorial, and we will at the Mount Soledad Memorial. In regard to that, the resolution that started our fight in the American Legion against the ACLU to protect our Defense of Veterans Memorials project began right here in this post. And it was adopted by District 21 and then California, and it was adopted at the 2004 National Convention as Resolution 326, Preserve Mojave Desert Veterans Memorial. That became the mandate, the national policy that allowed us to make this fight and make it into a nationwide crusade. And we fought that battle here, where it's closest to it, because Mojave Desert was right here in our district, San Bernardino, District 25, District 21. But a slogan of 10 words. For God and country forever, surrender to the ACLU never. That was our slogan for 10 years. I want to know I'm in the right room. If I say those 10 words, for God and country forever, surrender to the ACLU never, do you agree? Yes. The commander is going to be going to Mount Soledad, and he's going to see that cross we're fighting, and he's going to see those 4 plaques that we have helped to put up. And in regard to that, I say I did receive a couple of greetings that I'm going to share with you. And one is from Major General Patrick H. Brady, USA retired, Medal of Honor, considered the most decorated living American veteran. And he says as follows: Reese, please add my welcome to Commander Dellinger on his visit to my District 21 and the great Legionnaires of Post 79. I am gratified to learn that while there he will take in the Medal of Honor Memorial and the POWMI Memorial at Riverside National Cemetery and visit the Mount Soledad National Veterans Memorial and Cross, honoring veterans there that we have been fighting to save from the ACLU. I am happy to know too that he is still fighting for the right of the American people to protect Old Glory through the flag amendment. Finally, Commander Dellinger, District 21 and Post 79, should know that my last visit with California Legionnaires was for me a wonderful experience, with one exception. Do not let Reese Lloyd be your guide. He and our late comrade Bobby Dale Castillo of Post 79 got me lost all over California and worked me so hard they wouldn't let me eat or sleep for a week. Otherwise, it was a great experience, as I'm sure Commander Dellinger's was. This was from General Brady. Give him a hand. General Brady referenced there Bobby Dale Castillo. The hall that you're in today, Commander, while we want to learn from you and have a memorable night with you, we'd like you to remember this post in our fight in District 21. The hall that you're in is the Castillo Family Hall, because of the enormous contribution that the Castillos have made to this post and to the American Legion. Now, it is my honor to call upon Elizabeth Ann Castillo, Bobby Dale Castillo's daughter, to address and talk about Castillo Family Hall.
Thank you all. How's everybody doing tonight? Everybody look like you're having a good time, relaxed? Good deal. As Reese said, my name is Elizabeth Castillo. I'm the daughter of Bobby Dale. And I was asked to give a speech this evening to kind of tell you and give you an overview of my experience growing up here at this particular post. It's all started with my great-grandfather. His name is Jay Castillo. He was a World War I veteran. He was also one of approximately 40 men who helped put the LVT, we are all so fond of, across the way there, in place. were both World War II veterans, both very, very active at this post. My grandfather, Ed, ended up leaving the area with my beautiful grandmother and left Uncle Bob and his beautiful wife, Rosemary, here to take over. Uncle Bob, as all of you know, was very, very involved with this particular post. The ladies, World War II, taking their compacts, making that beautiful, lovely ball above that we all see and we enjoy. Also, Uncle Bob was the founder of our wonderful honor guard. Thank you, gentlemen. And ladies. Oh, goodness. Where else to go? Uncle Bob also established the Riverside National Cemetery. He was one of the main members there. I don't know if any or all of you are aware of that. He was also very active in getting the March Airfield Museum established for all of us to enjoy for future generations. Then my dad came along. Bobby Gill is my father, which you all pretty much know. I grew up pretty much running around in this room, never allowed to go next door. Sanford those members. Teasing constantly tipping the toe over the step, saying, "Look, I'm going over." Getting pulled back by one of the three. Oh, let's see. Dad worked side by side with Uncle Bob and learned a lot of the protocols, different things that the Legion stands for, and they both worked very hard for everything they believed in, which was their fellow veterans. And they truly believe in everything that this facility does, this group and this organization does. And I know they are up in heaven right now, just happy, 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 seeing things going, and all the hard work that Reese and his fellows, my newly adopted uncles. And I know Dad is tickled pink, Bobby, with you running for 5th area commander. Go, get it. That's pretty much all I have to say. Other than, just thank you very much for allowing me to share my little bit of history.
Stand there for a moment and let them do beauty and peace. I said a greeting. We had another greeting here, and this is from Colonel Antonio Monaco. Colonel Monaco is a U.S. Army retired combat veteran. He's the founder and CEO of Patriot Outreach, which is, we started, as most of you know, through a resolution that started this post 2 years ago. We agreed to enter into a working relationship to see how it worked, and it has worked extremely well. And Colonel Monaco sends this greeting to us. I read on the internet that you all would be gathering together for a dinner in Fighting District 21 and Post 79 honoring National Commander Dillon. I regret that I can't join with you because I will be out of state on Patriot Outreach work. I do look forward to seeing all of you when Patriot Outreach breaks ground next spring for building the first assisted living facility at near the VA hospital in Loma Linda, which will be named in honor of American Legion. Colonel Monaco goes on to explain why. It will be named in honor of the American Legion due to the bold and audacious leadership of Fighting District 21 in helping us help veterans. Brian. He also says this, I'm also gratified that Patriot Outreach is able to help the California VA&R Foundation by designating to you all donations from California which are made to Patriot Outreach by federal employees in the combined federal campaign. We hope this will help in your outstanding VA&R work for veterans. With that, I salute you all for your good work for God and country in our American Legion. Charge on, do good. Tony. That's our commander, Monaco from Patriot Outreach. Commander Dillinger, I want to say that we are enormously proud of the fact that through this pilot project and working in good faith with Patriot Outreach, the very first assisted living facility to be established by Patriot Outreach with all private funds, and the funding is secure, will be here at Loma Linda. I am not supposed to publicize the amount. So I won't publicize it, just tell you. This is estimated to be an $85 million investment in our community. Think of that. Think of the jobs, think of the contracts, think of the help. It's going to be one of 9 in California. And they're going to be built, their aim is to build 1 assisted living facility because the VA says that's what's needed to get a situation that brings together the guys providing the medical care with the guys that need the medical care on an outpatient basis. They're going to try to build 1 in every major VA facility in the United States. There is no reason that there can't be 1 in every state named in honor of the American Legion, and we have that brand, and people see us doing what we do best, helping veterans to get well. I would hope, and I hope this doesn't appear to be lobbying, our resolution went into the national organization a year ago, 2012, to make our pilot project a national project, and it was suggested by the VA and our commission that we do the pilot project. We've done it. We're going to go back this year at the National Convention, but this year we're going back in with this proposal that we can be associated with the building of assisted living facilities, and it's not going to cost us a dime. I believe and I assert to you, I believe this can help us immeasurably in revitalizing our American Legion. And Commander, one other aspect I'd like to raise with you in terms of the kind of resolutions and innovations and initiatives that come out of this post and out of our fighting District 21 is that at Mount Soledad, we have a resolution, our 5th Area Commander, Lee Carcelino, the 5th Area has voted to endorse it. So has the 3rd Area, and that is, we want to honor the 4 chaplains at Mount Soledad with a plaque in their honor. The 4 chaplains, as you all know, when the U.S. troop ship Dorchester was torpedoed on February 3rd, 1943, in World War II. And it was going down, and many of the young troops did not have life vests. They took theirs off, all 4 of those clergymen. A rabbi, a Catholic priest, and 2 Protestants took off their life jackets, put it on those soldiers, went to their deaths together, prayed, singing hymns. It's a remarkable heroism. We want to put that plaque up, and we want the world to know that the American Legion is putting up that plaque to honor those 4 chaplains, as the American Legion is trying to destroy the cross that's honoring them in the same place. And we hope that the national organization will endorse this effort, and we are going to establish that plaque on February 3rd. And if you can help make that happen, your donations are welcome. They should be sent to the VA&R Foundation, to our department, and it will be turned over and sent to Mount Soledad. I hope you agree that these are efforts that should be followed, and I hope you will join me now in welcoming our National Commander to speak to us and give us his guidance on how we can go forward in the American Legion.
Thank you. As I said before, dinner, it is indeed an honor and very humbling to be in front of you this evening to speak to you about the American Legion. But before I start, there's some people we need to recognize. First of all, those that prepared this great meal. I'd like to thank you very much for putting on this great meal. Everybody has been fantastic. You know, we've been in the Far East for over 2 weeks and never tasted better food at all. But really do appreciate it. Always looking forward to coming back to America, having great meals, and what an honor. Thank you very much for preparing that. The gentleman in the middle of the room taking pictures is my aide, Bob Renner. He's a retired Marine gunnery sergeant and worked for the Marine Corps another 20 years, but gave up his career to be with me this year as we travel around the country. And give him a big hand if you would. Next, I'd like to thank somebody, and you need also to thank him. He's traveling around with me, and I think he put together most of this tour this week. But he's your alternate National Executive Committeeman, Bob Brown. The NEC and alternate NEC play very important parts in our structure of the American Legion. And it's an up and beyond duty. The travels back and forth to Indianapolis, what they do, the extra work that they do for the national level. Give them a big hand, would you? Commander, I'd like to thank you very much for the warm invitation and hospitality shown by me. If I didn't know better, I swear I was in Southern Virginia instead of Southern California. But it's great being here. Thank you very much. As Marcus said in his opening, talking about children, youth, or veterans, it's all important. I go around the country. This is my 14th state already, and I don't know how many foreign countries either. But we're making it around. The American Legion, and if you read my bio, I have a construction background. 2 years ago, they said, "What's your theme going to be for the year?" And I got thinking about it, and I said, well, utilizing my background, I know that you need to have a strong foundation to put a building on. I build mostly churches and mid-sized, high-rise buildings. So I know what it takes to have something to build upon, to make it stable, to make sure it's going to last a long time. And the American Legion has that. 95 years of great tradition, taking care of our communities, our veterans, and our nation. It's very gratifying to see one of your town councilmen or city councilmen come up to me before he had to leave, Mike Gardner, and just tell me how important Post 79 is to the city. That's heartwarming. Because we, the American Legion, is the fabric of America. Unfortunately, politics has replaced patriotism in this country. So it's up to us, the nation's largest and best veterans organization, to make sure that we continue up to our 100th year and beyond to take care of our communities, our veterans, our servicemen and women, and our nation. We've been there since 1919, and we've done a great job of it, and we need to continue that. We need membership in order to do that. Because the programs aren't going to run themselves, and who's going to be here for our veterans if we're not? 11 days into my term, I testified in front of the Veterans Affairs Committee, the Joint Senate and House. And I told them a lot of things. We talked about TBI and PTSD, what it means to our servicemen and women. We need to be there for them. We need to have the medical experts, the mental health, the physical therapists to help them get through this. We talked about women veterans, what VA needs to do better to help our women veterans. They make up 20% of our active duty force, but only 8% of the female veterans actually are in care in VA facilities. That's just a couple of things. Another thing I told them was, It isn't the cost of the bullets or the fuel or the planes, but it's that 50 years of care for our veterans after the battle's over. So we need to be here to make sure that we're here for our veterans. In the next 4 years, we're going to have 1.2 million men and women, at least, coming off active duty and reintegrating back into society, back into their civilian jobs, and getting their life back together with their families. So we, the American Legion, needs to be there for them. It could be even more with the additional cuts they're talking about. The Marine Corps is supposed to be bottomed out at 180,000. I heard last week where it's now down to 174,000, maybe 170,000, because they don't have money to pay the personnel. They don't have money to pay our servicemen and women. The Army's doing the same thing. The Air Force is cutting an additional 5,000, so it's going to be even harder. Last year, we partnered with Chamber of Commerce on 295 job fairs across the country. We had one at the National Convention. You know, I don't know if you read about that. We had 600 attendees. We brought them up from, well, we sent out notices to all the unemployed in the Houston area. Plus, they went down to Fort Hood and brought 3 busloads up. USAA paid for them to stay overnight so that they could attend, and not only attend the job fair, but also resume writing class. But these are the things that we need to do to make sure that we take care of our men and women in uniform. And I'm not sure how many other job fairs across the country, because some of the reporting in what's called your consolidated post report, it didn't indicate how many of those were. But I'm sure that there were more. I know at least a half a dozen that I've already heard of. But consolidated post reporting is very important, because we need to accurately tell Congress who we are and what we do. When I was getting ready to testify, I had some figures I was ready to give them, which included, last year we touched 220,000 young men and women across the country with scholarships, boys state, girls state, baseball, oratorical, scouting. We raised over $22 million across this country last year in support of our children and youth programs. But when I got ready to give my testimony, I couldn't say anything. And the reason I couldn't is because those numbers were skewed. The reason the numbers were skewed was because last year, only 57% of all posts across the country reported what they did. Only 57%. Or otherwise, those figures would have probably been 400,000, 40 million, but who knows? Because I don't have the figures. So one of my projects this year is to make sure that everybody reports what they did and accurately. Every month, the adjutant has a little more work, but actually it isn't, because if you try to reconstruct something at the end of the year, it's very difficult. I know I was a post adjutant. It's difficult to do if you don't have those numbers. But what we do now, we have a form by the front door, or it's actually in our newsletter. All you have to do is on mail, on email, or else it's dropped off at the post. We have a box there. Just tell how many hours. It's just like tonight. Tonight's Americanism, because you're here to listen to what I have to say. So from the time you left your house to the time you get back is considered Americanism. That's just one, and there's a lot of hours right here. Every time you go to the Riverside National Cemetery, every time you go to the VA hospital, every time you pick a veteran up and take them to the doctor, every time you go get medication for them, or as we do in my post, deliver meals to those that can't get out anymore. That's all volunteerism. I would love to see those overall figures across this country. Not just for me, but for our next commander, when he goes in front of Congress next March, not this coming March, but the following March, and gives testimony. Unfortunately, last year, California didn't do really well. You only had 46% across the board reporting. But as I make my trips around the country, I ask everywhere I go to please make sure that if you're a district commander, an area commander, make sure that's part of your job, because the job's not done until the report's done. Remember that in the military? You had to have that after-action report. Well, we need to do it here. But I've had a very exciting year as the year's gone on. We've just been in a little over 3 months now. As I said, 14 states and foreign countries. We just got back from the Far East. And I was thinking while I was eating my nice warm meal here, on Thanksgiving Day, I was fortunate enough to be at the DMZ in Korea and feed the troops up on the DMZ. Feed them their turkey dinner. What a great feeling, because those 63 men up there are really between the communist world and us. You know, before I went to Korea, I thought, you think about Korea, but unless you've been there and stand there and see what these boys do, or these men do, some of them are young men, but they're all men, believe me. It's just unbelievable, the proximity with China, Russia, and Korea. That's what makes that entire area stable. And with that nut in North Korea, and that's exactly what I call it. And actually, the 4-star General Sarpati said the same thing to me, so I don't feel alone. It's very tenuous, that freedom, our freedom there in that area. Any day could blow up. 24 million people live within 40 kilometers of the DMZ. 24 million, half of South Korea's population. My daughter was there, and she took a train ride on their subway, and she said, "You'd never believe it. They actually sell gas masks in the tunnel because they have nuclear, they have biological weapons, and it's that close. They can wipe out half of that country with no harm at all, with no, just on a snap of a finger." So it makes you give it a different awareness. But we, the American Legion, that's one of our pillars, a strong national defense. And our men will be there, as the general explained to me, until we are asked not to be there. And he says the South Korean government's not going to ask that. I met with the ambassador while I was there. We went on to Okinawa, talking with people about the situation there. The Marines are supposed to move to Guam and also to Honolulu, but there's no money to do that because the DOD's never budgeted that money. But in the same sense, they're not putting any more money into Okinawa in the Marine area because they're leaving. The quality of life for our soldiers is going down all the time. And one of the things about sequestration, CBO came out last week with 100 top items that they could cut. 2 of them were, number 1, the Stars and Stripes. Everybody in here that served remembers reading the Stars and Stripes. And being over in Korea and being in Okinawa, there is no cable TV other than AFN, Armed Forces Network. And they're talking about cutting that too. There's so many messages. We talk about sexual trauma. We talk about bullying. We talk about suicide. Every time you turn on that TV, they have reminders to our men and women to watch out for bullying, to help someone that's in trouble. Don't leave them alone in the bar. And if you see any signs at all, make sure that you help your buddy, because he is your buddy. See, that's how much Washington is out of touch. Because just like during the shutdown, I was in Arizona, they flew me back to Washington, I stood in front of the World War II Memorial and gave a press conference. And I told Congress, don't use the veterans and our servicemen and women as pawns. We need to be there for our servicemen and women, we will be there. one of the reporters from ABC asked me, who's to blame? The Democrats or the Republicans? Because they were both using our statement, my statement, about the veterans to their advantage, trying to. So I went there to clear it up. And I told them, I don't blame the left, I don't blame the right. I blame the House, I blame the Senate, and I blame the President for failing to do what they were sent to Washington to do. And that's have a budget and govern our country. So these are really things that I'm saying as I go across the country and in Washington. The Senator Sanders from the VA Affairs Committee asked me, he said, well, you have a strong and construction background in commercial building. How come our hospitals are overrun and behind schedule? And I asked him, I said, whoever told you that VA could build a building? They're supposed to be running the VA system. I said, you have the Corps engineers to do that. But these are some of the things that I'm saying because it's necessary. We need to continue to do this. We have 95 years of great tradition. If we're going to take care of our veterans, we need to be there. We need to be strong. One of the little things I say is we're the second best kept secret other than the Masonic Lodge. We talk about growth. I was on an airplane going to New Hampshire, sat down beside a gentleman, had a discussion with him, and told him what I was doing, and asked him. He said, well, he was an 11-year veteran of the Air Force, 54 years old from Dayton, Ohio. He'd never heard of the American Legion. I was in Idaho, and I relayed that story to the people of Idaho, to the Legionnaires of Idaho, and the department commander told me afterwards, he said, because he was going around from district to district, and he's spending the night in these different towns, and he was at the Super 8, and next morning he gets up, and they had a continental breakfast there. There were 5 guys sitting there at the table, and he said he was getting his breakfast, and they kept looking at him, looking at the emblem on his shirt, and finally they got into a discussion, and come to find out 4 of the guys were veterans, but none of them had heard of the American Legion. So how many more of those are out there in the United States? What I try to say is, you're in a community, especially a community like Riverside, all the good things you do, the plaques, the scholarships, the helping, the Boy Scouts, all those things should be put into the newspaper. And my post I adopted about 10 years ago, every month we have to have something in the paper. So when I walk up to somebody and say, join our great organization, I'll say, oh yeah, you all sponsored the scholarships to the high school. You run the Halloween parade. You put the flags out down Main Street on all the holidays, because that's what we try to get in there. What we do in the community, what we do for our children and youth. Because the children and youth are our leaders of tomorrow. It's just like the educational centers that you have, that VA is doing now, and what they're trying to do is get the history and the stories, because the schools aren't telling what our history is. Unless you all, just like the alligator across the street over here, nobody's going to know that history unless you tell them, because they're not going to learn that in school. All they're trying to do is get ready for the SOLs, and it has nothing to do with American history. It's just like the Pearl Harbor survivors. It was interesting at the ceremony. They had an elementary school singing. They had the elementary school students carrying the wreaths of each service over to where they were to be laid to teach them history. But that's what we need to do, is make sure we get our youth involved. If you have a flag disposal, make sure that the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts are there, so they learn why it's important to honor our flag, because the schools honor it. They continue to say they're not doing things for us because they don't have the money. But if we have a big enough voice, we can make them. we can make them do what we need them to do. I've been speaking out for the last 3 months as to what we can do to help our vets, what we can do to help our servicemen and women. Just like closing the commissaries. We come out with a statement on that. AFN, the Stars and Stripes. Every time they bring something up, we give them a rebuttal. Because that's what we do as the nation's leader, as the nation's largest veterans organization. So as I told the NEC in October at our annual meeting, is I can speak no more on behalf of our veterans. Because it's important that we do that. Because it's up to us at 95 years of great foundation to lead us to our 100th anniversary and beyond. Because we have to make sure we're here that 50 years after the fighting stops to make sure that our veterans are being taken care of. And just like taking care of our veterans there, we also have to take care of our veterans at home. Each year the National Commander has a project. This year my project's the National Emergency Fund. The reason I chose that was because last year we gave out over $750,000 in grants across this country to deserving veterans and their families for natural disasters. Whether it was the wildfires out here in the west, whether it was the flooding in Missouri, the tornadoes in Moore, Oklahoma, or Hurricane Sandy. We have to be there for our veterans and for their families. So that's why my goal this year is to raise $1 million across the board for that project. Because it's not whether or not we're going to have another natural disaster, but it's when and where. We've already seen the flooding in Colorado. We've already seen the tornadoes. We've seen the typhoon in the Philippines. We just sent a bunch of checks off over there. There's a post on one of those islands that had 51 members. And right before I left for the Far East, I was supposed to go there, but they said don't come because the relief effort needs to take precedence, and I agreed. So I canceled my trip. But there are 51 members out of that post, and when I left for the Far East, they only heard from 3. So we know that they're hurting over there. As soon as they get, and I don't know how long it's going to take them to get communications back in order to the islands. I think it was all tower work anyway. But we'll be there for them because that's what we do. We take care of our own. So with that, again, I'd like to thank you very much for allowing me to speak this evening. I thoroughly have enjoyed the hospitality and the meal was delicious. I look forward to visiting the rest of Southern California and hope to see you all down the road. So with that, may God bless you all. God bless our troops everywhere. God bless the United States of America.
Thank you for that inspiring speech, Commander. As you were gracious in recognizing your auxiliaries efforts here, there are a number of people here that we would like you to meet. Colin Marcos, Enriquez, identify some of the distinguished guests.
Okay, aside from our distinguished guest here, as far as our Legion family, from the National Commander, as he mentioned, his aide, American Legion Department of California Adjutant Bill Schuyler. We really welcome him coming down. He's been here a few times, but he always likes coming down. Our alternate National Executive Committee, Robert Brown, American Legion Department of California Service Officer Scott McKee, our District 21 Commander, 5th Area, Lee, where'd you move to?
Right here.
Oh, there you go. Just want to make sure you're there. We also have a guest with District 25 Commander Steve Thomas and his wife, Lana. Past District Commander Robert Segala and his wife. As the National Commander mentioned, Councilman Mike Gardner was here. And Ignacio Romero, please stand up. He's the representative from Congressman Mark Takano. And Daniel Smith, please stand up. Honor Detail is a Memorial Honor Detail Commander over at the Riverside National Cemetery. Now, if I missed you coming through the door, walking through the halls, I apologize. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody was recognized for coming out and joining us for this evening. So there you have it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. I know one bunch was missed. There's some guys from Norco, Lewis Wright, Commander, and his guys. They were hiding out over there in the dark. You probably oh, there he is. There he is. I'm talking about those mushrooms. You see, that's where we keep them over there. As you guys all know, Norco's one of our greatest posts. I did want to say, Commander, when you spoke so eloquently about the need to educate, there was an issue that we were not sure we were going to raise, but in light of what you said, we'd like to apprise you of another initiative. I spoke to you to what I think is a great initiative to come out of this post in the fighting district. In regard to that, you've heard the name Ray Trosper here quite a bit tonight. I want you to know that one of the initiatives of Ray, and I'm going to do two, but one of them is when the reserves and National Guard were activated to go to Iraq here in Riverside, Ray didn't believe that the city was responding as should be done to recognize what they were doing. So on his own, he is an entrepreneur. He created his own business. He's successful at it. He rented the entire Riverside Municipal Hall. He brought in bands, he brought in caterers, he brought in a huge party, a sending off party for those troops and their families. There must have been 20 different color guards there that all came together. Ray did that. He spent $50,000 of his own money to honor the troops in that fashion. A year later, when they came home, he did the same thing. Altogether, Ray Trosper spent $100,000 to honor the troops as they should be. Ray, I'm among others who applaud him for it. Thank you. Ray did something else last night after we had our final planning meeting on your coming to join us. And Ray came up with an idea to help educate our young and the whole community about the 1.4 million veterans who have given their lives in the various wars throughout the year. And we do honor them, and there's a lot of lip service. And we have 2 days of the year, Veterans Day, Memorial Day. But Ray came up with an idea. What about this? And the essence of it is a resolution that he wrote today. I did a little work with him on putting a resolution together that we intend to introduce Wednesday at our general meeting of our post, that we hope that perhaps will be adopted later by our state and maybe even national. And the idea is this: whereas some 1.4 million American veterans have given their lives in various wars in the defense of freedom, whereas the nation should honor their service and sacrifice in perpetuity, including the 21st century. And whereas the highest honor our nation can bestow on our military or public officials, including the President of the United States, is formally known as the 21-gun salute. And whereas Americans who have given their lives in defense of the nation should be honored in a manner commensurate in dignity with the 21-gun salute, now therefore be it resolved by the American Legion, Riverside Post 79, meeting in regular session on 11 December 2013 in Riverside, California, that the American Legion should initiate and adopt a 21st century policy calling for the nation to honor our war dead in the following ways. 1. On the 21st day of each month, Americans shall have the authority to fly the flag of the United States at half-staff, in remembrance and in honor of all those who have given their lives in military service in war. 2. On the 21st day of each month at high noon, the American Legion as an institution and American Legionnaires as individuals should pause for a moment of silence of 21 seconds duration to honor our fallen heroes. This would mean of 31,536,000 seconds in a calendar year, utilized only 252 seconds of that year to honor our fallen heroes. 3, that the American Legion should urge all governmental bodies and all private institutions, including the news media and other businesses, to adopt this policy. It would help this and future generations to understand and respect the sacrifice made by veterans who have given their lives. This is the first time that this has been read, thought of, because Ray Trosper just thought of it last night. What do you think of that? Is this something you think that we should be supporting the American Legion?
Yes.
Thank you for your creativity, and Commander, and all of you distinguished guests over here in the department. I would hope that you would consider when a resolution from Post 79 comes up, that you adopt it and we make this part of our education of our kids. And I say it thinking of that youngster right there wearing that Sons of the American Legion cap. One day some father and son or mother and daughter, and in 21 seconds of silence, why is everybody quiet? To honor our dead. Thank you.
Members of Post 79 are proud and honored to present this plaque to the National Commander, Daniel, and thank you very much, sir. Like I said earlier, I'm very proud to serve as commander of Post 79. And proud to say this is a very great historical moment for Post 79. Thank you, Commander Dellinger. We salute you for your service to the nation and the American Legion. Thank you, sir.
Our Heavenly Father, we deem this a fitting time to pay our respects to our departed comrades. As we stand with bowed heads in reverence to them, let us remember the good deeds they accomplished. Let us revere them as good soldiers who fought the good fight in a just cause. Let us, in mind and soul, consecrate our hearts and lives to the real America, the land of the free, the home of the brave, the America worth fighting for. We stand in silence for our comrades in Iraq and Afghanistan, and we sincerely hope for a swift return. Let us also remember the POWs and the MIAs still accounted for wars and conflicts. Amen.
Amen.
March. Shoulder, arm. Retrieve the colors. Simon.
Rifle detail. Out, face.
Word, march. Order, march.
Thank you. Before we close tonight, I'd like to thank everyone for Post 79 that has helped with this National Commander's Dinner. It's been impossible without your help. We've already thanked the ladies in the kitchen, but I want to thank the Unit 79 Auxiliary again, and I also want to extend a thank you, a big thank you to Renee, Dolly. She has done all the decorating here. As commander of Post 79, I now declare this honorable dinner celebration over and invite all the guests to intermix with their national commander and in the hall and also in the lounge later. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And beside her, and guide through the night with the light from above. On the mountain to the prairie, to the ocean, white with foam.
Living here in paradise because of sacrifice from the lives of heroes. They leave their homes and family, fight for you and me to protect our country. On foreign land they make their stand in the name of freedom. So let's show our love to the warriors. Thank you, soldier, for giving your lives, protecting me. Thank you, brothers, sisters too, for keeping our land free. Thank you, soldier. Thank you, soldier. Somewhere on a battlefield, a soldier kneels in the burning sun, camouflaging all his fears as he volunteers to go and save someone. Round after round, exploding sound out in the middle of nowhere. I hope that God above hears that soldier's prayer. Thank you, soldier, for giving your lives, protecting me. Thank you, brother, think about them that much until they're headed off to war. And that's when we get behind them and give them all our support. But we sometimes take for granted that they've always been around. Each one of them a hero for defending this sacred ground. They keep us safe and they keep us free. They make this country proud. From one American to another, it's time they heard these words out loud. Thank you for the job you do so well. You risk it all in freedom's name and sometimes go through hell. Thank you for the sacrifices made, for the ones who never came back home. A high price has been paid. It's about time we extend some gratitude. Let me be the first in line to say thank you. I want to offer my thanks to those men inside at VFW tonight, 'cause they were willing to do whatever it took, including laying down their lives on land on sea and in the air. A tough job day in and day out, but that's what being an American soldier is all about. Thank you for the job you do so well. Sometimes go through hell. Thank you for the sacrifices made, for the ones who never came back home. A high price has been paid. It's about time we extend some gratitude. Let me be the first in line to say thank you. Thank you for the job you do so well. You risk it all in freedom's name and sometimes go through hell. Thank you for the sacrifices made, for the ones who never came back home. The highest price has been paid. It's about time we extend some gratitude. Let me be the first in line to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you.